Friends, gather round, for I come bearing news that will rock your world, or at least your online shopping cart. As of May 2nd, 2025, the era of cheap Chinese goods flooding your doorsteps has come to a screeching halt. You see, the Trump administration, in its infinite wisdom, has decided to end the de minimis tariff exemption on goods from China valued at $800 or less. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, what in the blue blazes is a de minimis tariff exemption? Well, my friends, it's the reason you've been able to score those sweet, sweet deals on everything from phone cases to fidget spinners. This magical loophole allowed goods under $800 to enter the US duty-free, making it rain cheap goods for American consumers and a bonanza for online retailers like Temu and Shine. But hold your horses, because it gets even more interesting. At the same time, they slammed the door on the de minimis exemption. The administration also decided to wave goodbye to a customs rule that required formal entry for goods between $250 and $2,500, subject to penalty tariffs. Think of it like removing the speed limit signs while simultaneously increasing the number of potholes on the highway. It's a recipe for chaos, my friends, and it has experts scratching their heads, wondering how on earth they're supposed to enforce these new tariffs. This, my friends, is the sound of 1,000 economists face-palming in unison. You see, this whole waiver thing throws a wrench into the tariff collection machine. It's like trying to herd cats, but the cats are packages and the herders are blindfolded. Even the folks at DHL, who are usually pretty good at this whole shipping thing, admitted to having constructive dialogue with the government about these changes. I'm sure those were some very polite and productive conversations. Now, you might be asking yourself, John, why would the Trump administration do such a thing? Well, my friends, the answer, as always, lies somewhere in the tangled web of trade wars, political posturing, and a healthy dose of America First rhetoric. You see, Trump has long argued that the de minimis exemption was a scam against the US, a gaping loophole that allowed China to flood our market with cheap goods and undercut American businesses. Of course, he conveniently ignores the fact that many of these American businesses rely heavily on those same cheap Chinese imports to keep their prices low and their profits high. But hey, who needs facts when you have a catchy slogan like "Make America Great Again," right? The problem is, this whole tariff tango comes with a hefty price tag, and guess who gets stuck footing the bill? That's right, folks. You, the American consumer. Economists are predicting that the end of the de minimis exemption will lead to price hikes on a whole range of goods, from clothing and electronics to toys and household items. And while Trump has acknowledged that tariffs could lead to higher prices, he's also quick to point out that they're necessary to protect American jobs and level the playing field with China. Of course, he neglects to mention that those jobs were already disappearing long before he took office, thanks to automation and globalization, but that's a story for another time. Now, I know what you're thinking, John. This all sounds terribly complicated and depressing. Is there any good news? Well, I'm not going to lie to you, folks. The outlook isn't exactly rosy. The US-China trade war has been raging for years, with both sides slapping tariffs on billions of dollars worth of goods. It's a classic case of economic mutually assured destruction, where everyone loses in the end. The Trump administration claims that these tariffs are necessary to force China to play fair on trade, but so far they've had little impact beyond driving up prices and hurting businesses on both sides of the Pacific. In fact, some experts believe that these tariffs are actually backfiring, pushing China to strengthen its ties with other countries and reduce its reliance on the US market. So, what's the solution? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some argue that the US needs to take a tougher stance with China, using tariffs and other measures to force them to change their ways. Others believe that dialogue and diplomacy are the only way to resolve these complex issues. The truth is, there's no easy answer. The US-China trade relationship is like a giant game of chess, with each move having far-reaching consequences. And right now it feels like we're stuck in a stalemate, with neither side willing to make the first move. So, what does the future hold for the US-China trade war? Will these two economic titans continue to duke it out, or will they find a way to coexist peacefully? Only time will tell, my friends. But one thing's for sure, the outcome of this trade war will have a profound impact on the global economy for years to come. In the meantime, we can only hope that cooler heads will prevail and that both sides will realize that cooperation, not confrontation, is the only way to achieve lasting prosperity. Until then, we'll just have to brace ourselves for a bumpy ride and hope that our wallets can withstand the impact. And hey, maybe we can all use this as an opportunity to break our addiction to cheap Chinese goods and support local businesses. Or, we could just stock up on phone cases and fidget spinners while they're still affordable. The choice, my friends, is yours. But hey, at least we'll always have the memories of those glorious days when we could buy a knockoff pair of Yeezys for the price of a cup of coffee. Those were the good old days, my friends. The good old days.